This is our 2022 BMW M240i X-Drive. We have had it for about the last 4 months, and in that time period, we've put about 5,000 miles on it. However, today we're really gonna get to know it because we're going to lift it up and take all of the under panels off and see what this thing has to offer on the underside. In the last 5,000 miles, what do you think about this thing, Dad?
I have a lot of opinions about this car so far. So yeah, I obviously flew to Arizona, picked up the car, bought it without driving one, bought it without being involved in an M240i, really even being quite honestly a BMW fan. I wasn't necessarily a big BMW fan. I don't need to get into those reasons why, but I've really enjoyed this car. I would say right off the bat that this car was not a wow factor for me, but it was a car that was checking off a lot of boxes, a car that when you put all aspects of the car into play, the performance, the mileage, the price, the options, it just looked really intriguing, so I thought I'd try it out. I still think I made the right choice in that regard. When I initially wanted this car, I wanted one with no options on it at all. I wanted to get one as close to the base MSRP as possible because I was going after the ultimate driving machine. I think, after owning this car, that part of that ultimate driving machine is some of the options that come with that car. The Harman Kardon sound system, the nicer leather seats, even the parking assistant package. So the fine elements add to this being BMW slogan, ultimate driving machine. We really enjoyed doing this, and we're going to do it today on the G42 platform, the M240i, and that's kind of looking at the underside here and taking a little deeper dive on how things are put together, where stuff is located. We're even going to take it a step further and take some of those panels off underneath the front side of the car. A lot of this stuff here, like we just have a fuel tank on both sides right here, so don't feel the need to take those off and explore that too much. But we're going to start in the back of the car, work our way forward. I'm going to go ahead and take over the first half of the car, which is the rear half of the car. We're going to start as far back as we can get with this exhaust here. I noticed that this is extremely similar to the Toyota's Supra's system. After I looked at some photos and watched a couple of videos of the underside of that car, all the way up there from the cat back, the system looks pretty much identical, as well as the entire underside of the car. Where it does seem to differ is that rear muffler. The rear muffler here on the M240i looks a little bit larger, and we also have that active valve here on the passenger side rear here in America. So when we have it in sport mode, that's open. When we don't, it's closed, just to make it a little bit quieter. If we move up just a little bit here, we can see we have these covers under these rear control arms just for some aerodynamic airflow type of thing, covering the rear multi-link suspension here on both sides. Right in front of that, we also have some single piston M Sport calipers, and connected to the wheel hub there, we go to the axle, which brings us to the M Sport rear differential. It's super common across M products. This is that M Sport differential that, like, when you're mid-slide, it electronically locks up so you can carry it through. Some people love it, some people don't. However, it is a very well-designed and very well-used electronic differential in here. We'll finish up the rear end with showing that battery that is located in the trunk and the big cables that are going from the front of the car to the back of the car. Let's talk about and just show some of the reasons why this platform is so rigid and what makes this able to handle the power that it can put down, right? So you can see by each wheel here, we have these V's that are coming to meet this crossbar. Looks like it's all aluminum. We'll get some of these covers off in just a minute so we can expose the differential and transmission in the bottom side of the motor here and just see what all that looks like and talk about it a little more. But obviously the aerodynamics is this traditional BMW down here. But you know you have a performance-oriented car when everything is smooth down here, which it pretty much is, right? So we have a lot of good airflow, a lot of good aerodynamics to keep this thing stable at speed. When I look at the front suspension, nothing new here. This is very traditional BMW. And when I think about the cars we've had on this lift, AMG GT, a Viper, a C8 Corvette, the Jaguar F-Type R, every single one of them has that double wishbone front suspension. So when you're talking about those cars that have 500 plus horsepower and that are true sports cars, there's a reason why they're all the same, and we're getting this out of BMW. We're mixing in that comfort as well as some of that agility. When I go into a curve in this car that has some road surfaces that are not ideal, so mid-turn you hit a bump, the car makes you feel out of control slightly. It doesn't lose control, but it just gives that sensation. When I look at the suspension setup, that makes sense to me. There's just, it's like all of the connection points are coming at the same area. Very awesome suspension, but obviously it has its limitations when performance is the only thing you're after. Let's have Austin talk about the front end of this car quick and some of the airflow, and then we're going to get these panels off.
On both sides of the M240i up front, we have a radiator, direct inlet right on the side panel here. Right to the right of that, we have some downforce built in just to the side of the front bumper here. If we go right here, here's a fun little detail that you'd never notice unless you shine a light on it. Just two more little passageways for cooling right into that radiator. If you look towards the middle of the grille, the vent is closed right now. If you look above that panel, there's two more vents that are also closed right now. We're not 100% sure where the intercooler is, where the radiator is behind those. So we'll have to take some panels off and see if we can figure out which one's which. If you look at the other side, it is identical to the side we just showed you. If you look right there, there is a little bit of brake cooling. But for that brake cooling to work, that lower grille has to be open for any airflow to actually go through it. And right in front of that, we have a little swoosh. It must just take air in and help with downforce, aerodynamics, maybe cool brakes on a turn, I don't know.
I am noticing that to change out this front splitter would be pretty darn easy, just plug and play. We have our really defined lifting points, both front and rear, which that makes it easy to do some DIY projects, taking off wheels, changing brakes, getting the thing up in the air to maybe lower it. Easy to do stuff with that regard. I also noticed that if we were to put a new side valance or a side skirt on, we have some pretty easy mounting locations, so maybe coming soon in that regard. Easy access to that drain plug. Filters up top. I'm pretty sure Austin mentioned that earlier on the B58. Let's get these covers off and just kind of see the mechanical side of the M240i. So we'll talk about some of the observations and make sure we just get some good video of this stuff. So if you are a do-it-yourselfer or just curious, we have some clear shots for you guys down the road. ZF 8-speed. Love this transmission. I would argue that this is one of the best transmissions on the market. I've enjoyed it in my Jaguar F-Type R that had 550 horsepower going through it. This one obviously has the power takeoff, the PTO coming off to the side here that is delivering that power through the shaft up to the front differential here. And then you have your axles going off from there. So love the ZF 8-speed, love how fast it shifts. You'll also just notice as you look around with the covers off, like there is some substantial felt padding, obviously not only to keep things cool in the cabin, but for sound deadening as well. And with the covers off, again, you can see how easily accessible the downpipe is. We get an eye on the Borg Warner turbo up here. It's cool architecture. It's cool how everything goes together. A couple takeaways, this little plastic guy that goes here, it's like a specific cover you can take off for the engine mounts on each side. The driver's side has an extra support beam, so that one would be a little more difficult to get to. The passenger looks pretty straightforward. Found a random zip tie when we took a cover off. I don't know what that would be for or what it would be attached to. The other thing that is very it's just interesting that this is the efficient way to go, whether it's for MPG, lower weight, all the above, is everything involved in that front electronic steering. So you have your standard like steering shaft that's coming down and hooking up here, and then this whole area of just mass along with this big electric motor to turn your wheels. It's incredible to look at. It really is.
I do find it interesting that the entire front cradle here, most performance cars that we look at are aluminum. This is actually galvanized steel. This entire part of the frame is galvanized steel. So kind of interesting. I'm not really sure why they did that. The car doesn't look horrendous to work on. It is a BMW. It's obviously not going to be working on a Corvette or something. But there's parts of it that actually look super accessible compared to most BMWs I've worked on. The turbo, the whole downpipe, that area, that whole passenger side of the motor. Looks fairly accessible. However, anything up front doesn't look accessible at all until we drop that fan, radiator, and intercooler out. I did also notice, speaking of the fan, that instead of 2 fans like most vehicles, there's just 1 very large fan. However, even just looking at the radiator, intercooler, and fan, that doesn't look horrendous to drop out. It looks like it assumed just a few things up top and then it drops down here below. It's just in a very large case altogether. It was super cool being able to lift this thing up and see the whole underside of it once we got it up in the air. I'm also super excited about some of the mods that you said are coming in the future. I think those are going to be a ton of fun. Think about this thing squatted, wide stance, cool wheels, Thule paint matched on top.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Just slammed. Man,
we'll see about that.
So good.
There's definitely some cars that are starting to be modded overseas. Haven't seen too many in the U.S. yet, just on social
some exhaust
media.
systems and stuff are coming out, but yeah, not too many are very heavily modified. However, this motor, on the other hand, lots of people have 6, 7, even 800 horsepower.
I think this is kind of a legendary motor of this time, so I'm kind of glad that I'll be able to say that I owned it at some point, because I think it is a motor that's important to the automotive industry with the performance it has. Impressed with it.
Yeah, I'm really excited for you to do a big turbo, full internals, and all that stuff.
Yep, I don't know that we're doing that. I'm going to enjoy my 3 years of complimentary maintenance through BMW, however.
Are you happy with the spec of this car?
I am.
Yeah.
You know, I ultimately I didn't want the white one if I had to choose. I didn't order the car, so I just picked one that I found that a dealer had allocated.
You didn't just pick one.
Yeah, it took months. I didn't pick one, I found one.
Yeah.
Finally. I love the red seats. I wouldn't have that any other way. That is something I wanted. It wasn't an option I wanted to pay for, but I would totally pay that $1,400 or $1,500 for them.
Yeah,
that's how pleased I am with them. I also really dig the heads-up display. That wasn't on my radar for wanting at all or needing at all, but after having it and playing with the functionality, like, it's kind of a need in my book.
Digital dash too.
Yeah, I really dig the digital dash. Again, I didn't care about that. I thought I was only in this for the driving experience. Yeah. But I'm definitely glad I got those options. The Harman Kardon, like
beautiful.
Again, that wasn't on my radar. I didn't want to pay the $800 for that.
I'm still struggling to figure out if it's better than the Burmeister that was in the AMG you used to have.
I really like it.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know either. I really enjoy the sound system.
The one thing I don't understand about this car, yes, I get it doesn't have the performance pack, but still, it's an M240i. Why does it have Bridgestone All Seasons on it?
Because it's like the old man cruiser that likes to go, right?
Yeah, I guess.
I guess it's not really an old man car. I don't put it in that category necessarily.
Yeah.
This is like the college educated, I want a practical sports car.
Yeah.
Right? I got the parking assist. That's kind of a lame feature in my opinion, but it works really well.
Yeah.
It's nothing I ever plan on using. Unless I want to show someone. It's more of a party trick than actual needing it for functionality.
Yeah, unless you don't know how to park.
There is that. I think I still know how to park. I feel good about that still.
That's good.
Other than that, yeah, there's heated steering wheel and seats. That's a must-have.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video today here on Performance on Wheels. It was super fun, had a lot of fun taking panels off, and you know, it's something that we always enjoy doing on every car that's in the garage.
We do, yeah, absolutely. Thanks guys for tuning in. Hopefully we'll have some mods to throw on this thing to check out. Also drag strip, hopefully maybe even in the very near future from this video being released.
Thanks guys.